All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 3 with Tyler. Fired up to have him back as a part of the show. He'll be a key part moving forward, and we'll have more guys join the show in the upcoming month, I would say. But yeah, we got news today that Packers legend and Jet legend, as you can see with Tyler's jersey, Brett Favre, got diagnosed with Parkinson's, and that's really unfortunate. Favre's an absolute legend. He is a childhood hero, and he's still a hero to me to this day. Despite everything, I just fell in love with the way he played, and I have so many fond memories growing up with Brett Favre. And yeah, prayers will be sent. And I was thinking about this today, just thinking about all the concussions that he's taken over the years. And as much as I enjoyed watching him play, I even rooted for him on the Vikings. Like, I was such a Favre guy that I betrayed the Packers, and I was rooting for Favre on the Vikings. And that might be pretty devastating for Tyler to hear because Tyler's a Packer through and through. But I love Favre growing up, and I loved watching him on the Jets, playing through the torn bicep tendon, which he probably shouldn't have. I looked it up before the show. He was 8-3 to start the season, tore his bicep, played through it, and the wheels kind of fell off that year. But that's who he was. He was an Iron Man. He was a gunslinger. He was gonna go down on his shield, and it didn't matter if he was throwing the ball to, say, Javon Walker or Antonio Chapman for Packer fans who the few would probably recognize that name. He would let it fly. He'd trust in his arm, as everyone knows, and either the guy would make a play or it might get picked off. But yeah, he probably shouldn't have played those last few years. He took a lot of damage back then, even in 2009, 2010. Like, it's just different than it was today. He took some big shots, and I don't think those did it any favors. So my biggest advice to anyone who's listening, any of the fighters who may be tuned into this episode that I've interviewed in the past, anyone willing to listen, as if you're in football, if you're in boxing, if you're in MMA, it's best to get out too soon rather than too late. That's kind of the tangent I got. But Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think prayers at the Brett and his family. I think you're going to start seeing it. Some fans might have saw it at the Packers Titans game. There's a player or two that were wearing. They're called Guardian caps now. They actually wear them over the helmet. They're like a foam kind of extra protection, and I think you're going to start seeing that more and more in the NFL. But I think Favre said he's been diagnosed with 3 to 4 concussions over his career. I think that's a little skewed. I've read that he's had up to 1,000 in his 20-year career. Just unfortunate. He holds a lot of records. I think he still holds games played, most consecutive games played by 299. If you hold that record, you're going to take a beating, unfortunately, in the NFL. But yeah, prayers out to Brett, and to your point, get out sooner rather than later. You see a lot of athletes now, especially in the NFL, retiring 28, 29, even 30 years old. And it just has to do with getting hit in the head and how violent that sport is.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the quality of your life going when you get older, and just like through my life experience dealing with brain stuff, it's not fun. Like I've had family members, and it's not because they were football or one of them was a boxer back in the day, but it's not fun. It's really not fun. So it's like you get to live hard. We had this conversation kind of a little bit on one of the previous episodes. You get to live hard, live fast, live the life, but it really can make your quality of life when you're older not so fun. So I mean, who knows? I would say there's a pretty good correlation between Favre's damage that he took in the Parkinson's. I don't know exactly how that works, but yeah. The CTE I find very interesting. I love watching boxing. I love watching football. And I think it's great that more people are going to wear that padding on the helmet. It might look a little weird, but I think it's great because just thinking about the long-term health of these people, but a lot of data is out there, and these athletes got to make their own decisions. But like Mike Tyson, I'm fired up for that Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, but Mike Tyson should not be fighting him at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how much money Mike is making, it's not going to be worth the damage after Jake Paul runs through his ass. And yes, you heard it here first. Jake is going to destroy Mike Tyson. And I'll be watching and I'll be rooting for Jake. I hope I hope he is all right at the end of the night, but I'm rooting for Jake. That might be an irredeemable quality to some people watching this, but I'm a Jake Paul guy. But yeah, moving to a little bit of a lighter hearted note is uh, I was such a huge Favre guy growing up that I feel like it was almost mutually exclusive for me, where I wasn't that big of an Aaron Rodgers guy, and then like every little thing Rodgers would do, I was like, oh gosh, this guy, he's kind of arrogant, he's kind of a prick. But I feel like I was really hard, especially in Rodgers' early career, because I was so passionate about Favre that like I still rooted for Rodgers and the Packers, but it just wasn't the same as it was with Favre. But Jordan Love and Malik Willis, they're making me a big Packer fan. I'm jumping back on the bandwagon. They just seem like humble, good dudes who it's like someone I would like to have a beer with. Like, just cool dudes. And yeah, I like to say I'm hopping back on the Packer bandwagon. So
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of people are. I think you take a look at that defense the Packers have put together. I think Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator of the Packers, is really building something special there. He's building something where it's built to rush the quarterback, especially when you're up, and everybody's playing freely. I mean, everybody's flying to the ball. I think Malik's having a great 2 games. He's gotten 2 wins for the Packers, but I think it's all on Matt LaFleur. The game plans, the coaching. He's coaching a masterpiece almost every game now. Coach of the year, I think, so far. I know it's only been 3 games, but they're really good coach team, and I think that defense is only going to get better. And they got a tough matchup coming up here against the 3-0 Vikings, and Packers lead the NFL in turnovers. They have 7 turnovers already. If you're going to lead the NFL in turnovers, you're going to win a lot of football games.
yeah. Yeah, and last year I think they had like what 6 on the season, like that's
6 or 7 on
insane.
the season, I think. So,
Yeah,
yeah, Jeff Hafley's accomplished, something in the matter of 3 games, what Joe Barry has maybe accomplished in 3 years. So it's quite
it,
a jump.
yeah, and just kind of articulate kind of what I was saying a little bit better is I'm a players guy. I gotta like more so than an organization guy, where I gotta like the players to be rooting for them, and I feel
Yeah.
captivated. I feel captivated by like Jordan Love and everybody. They seem like cool dudes, so that's fun for me to root for. But yeah, moving a little bit to some other quarterbacks around the NFL. It's just an interesting time. I said it on the last episode, and you agreed. Like, you see guys like Sam Darnold and Derek Carr. Derek Carr kind of regressed a bit this last week, but you see these guys popping off, and it was like, maybe pulling out the Red Rocket for the Panthers wasn't a bad move. And sure enough, pretty wild. He's the only quarterback this season with 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns in a single game. So far so good for the Panthers. Big W for the Red Rocket. And yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe kind of these journeyman middle tier quarterbacks. Maybe it's for whatever reason this might be their year. But I found that pretty hysterical that he had such a good week. And what do you think that says about the Panthers quarterback situation?
Yeah, I honestly, after seeing that game, Bryce Young, I kind of felt bad. Like, I really did. And
Yeah.
I know Andy Dalton had like over 300 yards passing, and what was it, maybe 3 or 4 touchdown passes. But I felt bad for Bryce. I just feel like I think it's an organizational issue. I think they're not. They didn't develop him right away. I think some quarterbacks develop differently. It's all situational. Like, if a quarterback's in a good situation, like even like Malik Willis, like he's a good player, but like he's in a great situation. He's in a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
organization, and
Oh yeah.
I just think like Bryce Young's going to be back in the picture, but these older, um, almost kind of gunslinger quarterbacks like Andy Dalton is, and Sam Darnold too. I forgot the stat, but he's with like Kurt Warner and another quarterback, and what he's done so far. I think he has. I forgot what the stat was, but each one of those quarterbacks eventually went to the Super Bowl. So It's quite interesting, these quarterbacks that are a little older, a little bit more mature, and have been in the NFL a little longer, are having success with some of these other teams that they haven't been on. So very interesting.
These last few years, I've noticed it a lot. Like these veteran QBs, like I remember
Yeah.
Fitzmagic with the Dolphins when they were splitting time between him and Tua, and man, like, and he got hurt, but when he was healthy, that dude was playing like better than he had his whole career at age
Yeah.
38, 39. And do you remember when it was against the Raiders and I think Tua got hurt, or I don't know, they put Fitzmagic in, but they ripped Fitzmagic's face mask and his head is this way. He throws a perfect dime across the field for a catch. But I just there's something about these veteran quarterbacks that just, man, they can win ball games at this stage in their career. And I know you want to develop young talent, but that kind of leads me to my next point is I think the Browns made a huge mistake investing in Deshaun Watson. Just with his whole situation with the 20 plus allegations, and I believe they settled. I just at that point for them to reward him with like a massive contract, and they're 1-2. He got off to a good season start last year before he got hurt, but I do question Deshaun Watson's ability to lead a team after all that. I just got to wonder where his headspace is at. And you look at what Joe Flacco did. Like, I'm a huge biased Joe Flacco guy, but I know you're paying Deshaun a lot of money, but I would have at the very least kept Joe Flacco around as your backup. At the very least. What do you think about Deshaun Watson and his prospects moving forward?
I just think it's the classic Browns. They never players go when they go there, their careers die. Their careers go there to die, unfortunately.
Not if you're Flacco.
Not if you're Flacco.
He was revitalized.
But I stay away from players that have had any kind of trouble with the law or within the league. I mean, you look at like Calvin Ridley too. He got in trouble with that gambling issue. He's he's on the downward trend, and same with Deshaun. I mean, you get in that kind of trouble, you go through that. It's a mental thing when you go to another team too because of all the trouble you've been in. But I think he's washed. I think it's a huge waste of money. I think you see what you get. I see it's the ceiling. I think everybody's seen it, and unfortunately, the Browns have made their bed and they got to sleep in it. So
quarterbacks, whether you like it or not, like they are leaders of the team. Like, it's just a fact.
Yep.
Like, the quarterback's always going to be the leader of the team, whether they want to be a leader or not, whether they just want to play the sport or not. And that's just a pretty devastating thing to have, and then try leading a locker room full of guys. So I remember hearing something interesting. I believe at the same time Tim Tebow was trying to make it on to the Jacksonville Jaguars at tight end, and more people were like appalled by Tebow trying to make the Jaguars roster than Deshaun Watson and his 20 plus allegations. I remember hearing that and found that to be an interesting quote. But yeah, Deshaun Watson, and then moving on to another quarterback, Daniel Jones. It was a solid week for my boy Daniel Jones, and he beat Deshaun Watson. But it was good to see Daniel Jones. I'm a believer in him, and you see Malik Willis with the Packers. Good situation, and he looks like a totally new man. I think Daniel Jones, I said it before, give him a good situation. I think he'd be a solid player. He now has a legit weapon with Neighbors, and you called it at the beginning of the year when I was asking about your fantasy picks. But Neighbors is a dog, and now Daniel Jones has a real weapon. We'll see what he can do now that he has that weapon. But yeah, any thoughts there?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. I mean, Malik Neighbors is a freak of nature. He's going to be here for the foreseeable future. Some of those catches were pretty crazy. You saw in the preseason too. You saw it on the practices and training camp. You like, this guy is star written all over him. You start seeing those flashes. The eye test was there, and that's what the Giants wanted to do. They wanted to give Daniel Jones a chance. You have to give your quarterback a chance by giving them a weapon, and they got a pretty good weapon from Malik there, and it's just, again, LSU producing these wide receivers. It's ridiculous. It's year after year. It's talent just flowing out of that system. And yeah, I'm excited to watch. I wish he was on my fantasy team, but I decided to get Marvin Harrison over him. But yeah, I'm excited for Daniel, and I hope he uses this to his advantage.
And then the last topic I think I want to talk about is just I didn't watch any college football this last weekend, but I was like kind of craving it late at night, and the game that was on was Colorado Baylor. 8 minutes left, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch this. And I've never been a huge Colorado guy just because of how flashy they are and everything. Like I don't know. I mean, I just don't care for it, but I gained a lot of respect for Shedeur Sanders. The way he played, his talk about a bad line. His line was awful, and he was sitting in there taking shot after shot and delivering balls with guys coming in on him. That sounded really bad. That sounded really bad. But no, he was taking shots and he threw a beautiful ball, or he got the ball all the way out for 39 yards to Hunter, and Hunter made a ridiculous play, but it got overturned. But then he all ended up leading them to a ridiculous Hail Mary, and then in overtime, Hunter, who's playing two sides of the ball, he was probably exhausted, puts his helmet right on the ball and forced a fumble to win in overtime. Just gained a lot of respect for Hunter and Sanders, because Hunter, you can't be telling me that dude's not exhausted at the end of the game. Like, that guy has to be just toast after playing a full game on both sides. And I do wonder, like, people get injured when they're super fatigued. So I wonder, like, I would be a little hesitant on just overdoing him just for his future. He's got such a bright future ahead of him, and he's playing all these snaps. So I'm a little concerned about him injury-wise, and, Sanders, too. He's taking a lot of punishment. I mean, those guys, it's about two guys who might have a lot of miles on the tires by the time they get to the NFL. But, yeah, did you get the chance to watch, or what are your thoughts on Colorado?
Yeah, I watched some of the highlights. I mean, Travis Hunter, straight up stud. I mean, Shedeur Sanders arguably could be both top 5 NFL draft picks next year. But yeah, I mean, they're fun to watch. Their offense is fast, quick, a pro style offense. Some of the competition they played is suspect. I'm not saying Baylor's a bad team. I mean, they ran in Nebraska a couple of weeks ago. Big Ten team got pretty much hammered. So we'll see when they start coming up to the Kansas States and the Utahs, and probably tune into those a little bit better. More competition, kind of eye test. Shedeur Sanders. I personally think I'm probably going to eat my own words. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a bust in the NFL. You've heard it here first, but I can't put my finger on it. I just eye test wise, character wise, that's just how I feel. But we shall see. We shall see a lot of college football left, so I'll definitely have my eye on him for sure.
I mean, I don't know enough about him, but the dude is tough. You can't take that away from him. The dude is tough. He can take damage and keep going. So, and I actually don't think Colorado's good. I think they're going to have a rude awakening in these upcoming weeks. But I mean, I gained respect for those two players in particular for the ending. I'm not saying I'm a fan, or I'm not saying I think they'll be good. I just gained respect for those two guys.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, he's tough against. He's playing the Colorado States and North Dakota States. He looks really tough. I like to see him out there with an SEC team and see how tough he is. So, like I said, a little bit better competition. Might sway my opinion here in the future, but like we said, we'll see.
And then the last topic, I'll just kind of throw this out here. I am giving up on the WNBA after the eye poke to Caitlin Clark. I'm done. Very early on in the game, she gets her eye gouged with these long ass nails, and the girl's not suspended for doing that. They have the golden goose. They have every opportunity to be profitable, and they just do not want to be a viable business. And I'm giving up. I've had enough of just seeing this, so I'm done. I'm done. So, but yeah, you want to close this out here?
Yeah, I think I texted you maybe a couple nights ago because there's a stat. It's just like I did like one of those double takes, like that meme where you kind of do a double take there, and it was the Caitlin Clark's first playoff game was more profitable than any other of the WNBA playoff games combined.
Crazy.
And I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, I don't care what you have to do, what you have to rig. You need to get Caitlin Clark to the finals any way you can so the WNBA can start making some money because they have a gold mine here and they're just twiddling their thumbs. I don't know what politics are at play here, but when you see something like that, your eyes should just deer in the headlights at that point. And I think
Yeah.
that's where the NBA is. They're deer in the headlights. They don't know what they're doing.
They have every opportunity with Clark to really make something of it, and it's just I just it's hard for me to watch her get poked in the eye, and there's no repercussions for that. So, but yeah, this was episode 3 with Tyler. Great time talking with you, Tyler, and let's keep this thing rolling, boss. All right.
Yep, you got it.